Hi, my name is Eileen, and I am a compulsive overeater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I write them down, commit them to my sponsor, and don't eat in between my meals no matter what. And I am so grateful to be gray sheet abstinent. The topic today is why dieting doesn't work for me. And in a word, I can tell you why, and that is deprivation. All the dieting that I ever did, and I have to say, I was on a diet of some sort or other, or thinking I ought to be on a diet from the time I was 10, when I started dieting and calorie counting with my mother. And we would keep our charts and write down the food that we ate and how many calories we'd consumed. And we would do our best to stay between 1,000 and 1,200 calories a day. And I could do that. I could do that for about, 3 or 4 days, or maybe a couple of weeks. Or as I got older, I could even do it for about a month. But as soon as I got down to the number on the scale that I wanted to be, mind you, I wasn't ever really fat when I was a kid, then I felt that I deserved to eat the food I really wanted to eat, which always was sweet and always was fatty and was what the other kids could eat. And I started to see my body the way my mother saw her body, which was too fat and just not fit. And I never really went in for a whole lot of exercise, but dieting was something that I really felt I ought to do. I should diet. I always should be on a diet. It seemed like, I don't know, it went along with my mom saying that you have to suffer to be beautiful. And I felt like I had to diet to be thin. And if I were thin, then boys would like me and I'd be popular, more popular, and I would look nice in clothes and all that kind of thing. So it was all tied up in much more than what the number on the scale actually read. But all I could do was eat those diet foods, which I really hated because they were kind of tasteless. If they tasted anything, they were kind of sour and dry. And I couldn't wait till the end of the diet where I could eat the food I really wanted. And so my whole life before I got into the Gray Sheet food plan was basically dieting to get to the number I wanted to be on, then gaining the weight back, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, and dieting again. And there's a name for that kind of thing. It's called yo-yo dieting. And that's what I was really good at. So I had a whole lot of clothes that fit me and were a little bit more comfortable when I was bigger. And there were some clothes that I bought when I was thin, but they didn't usually fit me for very long. So they always lasted a whole lot longer than the fat clothes. And anyway, I despise dieting now. And that's why the Gray Sheet food plan works for me, because even though there are some foods that I will never eat again, hopefully, if I'm lucky, the foods that are not on the Gray Sheet food plan, there are so many delicious and wonderful and colorful and tasty foods that I can eat on the Gray Sheet. So my life today, the way that I eat, I choose foods that I like, that I enjoy from the Gray Sheet in the right amounts, commit them to my sponsor. I eat 3 meals a day with nothing in between. And every meal that I eat is delicious. Every meal that I eat is my choice. I never feel deprived. I love my food. I love this way of life because I can eat every single bite without feeling guilty, without shoulding on myself that I really ought to go on a diet. No, diet has that word die in it. And I am really living a full and wonderful life on the Gray Sheet. It's not just the food that I eat, it's the life that I get to have in between my meals. And I am so grateful. I hope I never, ever, ever forget how wonderful this is, because It's my mind that might tell me someday that, wasn't it nice when I got to eat a round Italian thing with lots of toppings on it? Or wasn't it nice to be able to eat something with candles on it on my birthday? And I have to tell you that I don't miss any of those foods when I'm weighing and measuring my food off the gray sheet. And it's not my appetite that's going to want me to go back on any other kind of way of doing my life. It's the crazyism of this disease, and so I hope that I'm just stay grateful, and I hope that I stay in the day, and I hope that if I ever get hungry or I ever get worried or anxious or all the other feelings that come up in between my meals, I comfort myself with the words, another meal is coming. And it's not just another meal, it's another wonderful gray sheet meal that's going to be satisfying and delicious and plentiful. So I hope you all have a wonderful abstinent day. Thanks.
My name is Kay, and I'm a compulsive overeater. I weigh and measure 3 meals off the gray sheet, write them down, call them into my sponsor, and don't eat in between no matter what. Diets didn't work for me, and I should know because I was on and off diets for 40 years before I came to Gray Sheet. I was a living example of the saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting different results. Whenever I went to the convent, yes, I was a nun, I put myself on a diet by starving. I just quit eating. I wouldn't eat all the food that they were serving, and I lost 50 pounds. And then, by counting calories, another year, I lost 60 pounds. And then I had to do that one again, 40 pounds, counting calories. After I left the convent and got married, I went to Weight Watchers for 6 years and lost 40 pounds. And then in desperation, I went back to counting calories again. You see how that insanity worked for me. When I was on these diets, food had a voice. It called to me. It said, I'm here. I'm getting stale. You better come eat me. When I was off the diet, I could hardly stand having food in the refrigerator. I'd keep going back and opening up the refrigerator and looking in it. And then when I was on the diet, I had constant food thoughts too. Well, I'll have a half a cup of this and I'll have a half a cup of that and I'll trade this for that. And since I can have this once a week, I'll have it twice this week, and then next week I won't have it. And all these kind of thoughts. When I was successfully dieting, I would go to the gym. If I wasn't successfully dieting, I wouldn't go. But when I'd go to the gym, I'd sit in the hot tub and I'd think about the food that I was going to eat on my diet and how good that food was going to be. I could think about food 24 hours a day. If my mind was not taken up with what work I had to do, then it would turn to food. It would turn to, well, this is what I'm going to have if I'm on the diet, or this is what I'm going to sneak if I'm not on the diet. My husband said to me once, how many last meals are we going to have? Because I would announce when I was getting ready to start a diet, well, let's go out because this is my last meal. How many last meals are we going to have? Many, many last meals. And I'd especially like to go to those kind of restaurants at my last meal where you could have all you could eat. My dieting was an obsession. I had an obsession with the food that was on the diet. And I oftentimes couldn't think of anything else. Why does GreySheet work? Well, there's so many ways that GreySheet helps me. The support that we have, and that principle of no matter what, that was really missing in my days of dieting. No matter what didn't enter my mind if I wanted to get off of a diet, if I was making an exception to the diet. I could always make an exception to the diet. But in GreySheet we say, no matter what. No matter what. And the spiritual principles of the 12 steps give me tools that I can work, tools that can help me on this journey. I am so grateful that I will never have to diet again.
Hi, my name is Grania, and I am a compulsive overeater. Today, I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the GreySheet. I turn those meals over to a qualified GreySheet sponsor. I don't eat no matter what. I do eat what I've committed no matter what, and my GreySheet abstinence is the most important thing in my life, one day at a time, and I have been abstinent back to back without exception since September 14th, 1994. And I love the topic of not wanting to diet and diet's not working. I'm so happy to say that I don't ever have to diet again. And the funny thing about that is that I never successfully dieted ever, even before I got abstinent. But I tried and I tried and I failed and I tried and I failed every single day. So what it was like for me was food was so important in my childhood and painful, but I didn't get fat. But when I became a teenager, after age 12 or 13, I started to put on weight. So I started to read about diets. And I internalized the idea that I should be on a diet. And I would read different diets and I would think, yep, I'm going to do this one. And I would think the next day, I would wake up and think, I'm going to follow that diet today. And I remember there was a diet that had the citrus fruit, and you could eat all you wanted of that, or you had to eat a lot of that. And I tried it maybe for half a day and couldn't continue. There was a diet that was about filling up on liquid foods, and I might have tried that for half a day. There were diets that were about 3 moderate meals, calorie counting, and eating slowly, and they would specifically write out exactly what you were supposed to have every meal for a week and guarantee a certain loss. I could never do it for even one meal. 2 meals would be out of the question. I'd always changed it, adapted it, broken it by the second meal. And so it was torture because every day I felt like I had a chance. It was like holding out. It was like the carrot hanging on the end of the stick. It was always a couple of feet in front of my face. There was always this idea that I could start this diet and by a certain period of time I would lose a certain amount of weight and my life would be revolutionized. And so it was this mythical cure for all my problems, which all really centered in the size of my thighs, which of course is a lie and an illusion and a distraction. And but I had this hope every single day, and then every single day I would dash that hope by not being able to stick to it. And yet there was always another diet, or there was always another chance, or there was always another article urging me to try it again. So I went through my entire teenage years doing that, and all of my 20s. So probably about 15 to 20 years, 365 days a year, trying and failing at the thing that I thought was the most important thing to me, which was to get control of my food and get to a normal body size. And it was horrible. It was torture. And now that I'm in Grey Sheet, I've surrendered all of that. I don't have to do that anymore. I never have to diet again. I follow this food plan that is followed by hundreds of other Grey Sheet people who have all said, I can't diet. I don't want to diet. I want to have 3 delicious meals a day, full, abundant, satisfying meals, guilt-free, remorse-free, and I know I can do it because other people are doing it too. When I was dieting or not dieting, I was the only one. Everybody was on a different diet. So my mother was on a diet, the woman I babysat for was on a diet, my friends were on diets, but everybody was doing something different. In Grey Sheet, and so because everybody's doing something different, I could never tell myself that I could get through what felt like I can't get through this moment without eating. I could never tell myself, of course you can get through it because look, your mom did, or your sister did, or your friend did. But in Grey Sheet, I have hundreds of people I can say, of course I can get through this moment without eating because so-and-so in Austin did, and so-and-so in Dallas did, and so-and-so in Mississippi did, and so-and-so in Louisiana did. I don't have to eat compulsively today because I've surrendered to dieting, and I just have to do what all the other Grey Sheeters are doing. And I get endless support. I get to go to meetings, I get to make phone calls, I get to pray and meditate and read the literature and work the steps and talk to people, other Grey Sheeters, about fabulous meals they make and try them myself. And in 24 years of weighing and measuring, I have never become bored with Grey Sheet food. Whereas when I was trying those other diets, I was bored very quickly. So I never want to diet again. I never will diet again. I want to be Grey Sheet abstinent one day at a time. Thank you.